Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Daily Dizzle for Thursday, December 30th, 2010. Not even 2 days left in the old year till 2011 is here. As always, I'm Tommy Dizzlemits here with you. I will be joining you into that new year. Hopefully, you will be joining us as well. Today, we've got a little bit more brief edition of the Daily Dizzle than usual. We'll touch on the box office numbers that we haven't really gotten to for the last few days because they've been slow to trickle out between the holidays. It's been slow between that and the movie news too. The holiday, Hollywood obviously shuts down a little bit, as every place does, especially when you have a nice holiday placement of both of them being on a weekend, so you can get maximum vacation time in. So it's been a little bit more slow of a news week in our realm, but we still got a little bit to bring to you. We'll also have some news about what we'll be bringing you in the new year from the Daily Dizzle and Tommy Dizzlemits as well. So let's jump into the movie news. Obviously, Little Fockers is on top of the box office. We'll get to the numbers in just a little bit, but we're going to run through the shorts first, and that's at the top of the list for that. While doing press for the new film, Robert De Niro was asked if there would be any more films, and he said he would be all right with doing one or two more. I don't think critics are going to want that after the reaction this one has gotten and after the numbers. It is continuing to trail the previous entry, which was the high peak of Meet the Fockers, which made almost $300 million. But that's another news for another time. Other news going on, Colin Farrell is currently undergoing heavy physical training for his upcoming role in the Total Recall remake that they're doing. A classic movie from the 80s that they're now giving a $200 million budget. And they're giving it to Len Wiseman, who also did Live Free or Die Hard, the Underworld movies. He's definitely got his hand on the directing thing. He knows what he's doing. He obviously can helm reboots, remakes, updates, whatever it is they're looking for. And if Colin Farrell is going crazy trying to train to get into shape, maybe some of that $200 million budget will be made back in the long run. There's a movie that apparently in the last couple of days it seemed like there was going to be a Lindsay Lohan-esque story going on. And apparently now Lindsay Lohan's mother, Dina, is suing over that, possibly. Why do you need to make a movie about her? We've given her enough attention as is. Let her fade away and never come back again. Universal Studios, who they kind of been hit and miss at the box office over the last few years, are already developing a Death Race 3. This even before the second Death Race came out, which you probably didn't even know about because it was a direct-to-video, or they're planning a direct-to-video. I don't understand the point in remaking something to then do direct-to-video sequels and, kill it all pretty much. Though I guess these means weren't really available to them the original times when they were doing the movies. So maybe this was part of the grand scheme of them wanting to whore out all their potential franchise properties, and they just never had the means to it because after it was unsuccessful at the box office, they didn't want to spend money. And nowadays, since you have the direct-to-video market, you have the direct-to-cable market, you have many ways of being able to make a pretty penny off of whoring yourself out, essentially. So, nice message to send along to the little kids, Hollywood. Speaking of the kids, they've actually released a look at the character designs from the upcoming Smurfs movie that comes out next Christmas. Little blue avatars, but the Smurfs did it first, so I guess the joke was the avatars were really just big Smurfs. I love the Smurfs, so I'm totally going to see this. I'm also one of the guys that wants to see Yogi Bear, so, take my opinion for what it's worth. Regardless, though, the Smurfs are the shit. You know what color a Smurf turns if you choke it? Neither do I. Other stuff, the Avengers, that's a big one that's going to be coming up. Apparently, there's going to be a large portion of filming in studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico, between April and September of next year. In other Avengers news, one of the Avengers, Hawkeye, is apparently going to pop up in the Thor movie. Jeremy Renner, who won acting nods for at the Academy Awards for The Hurt Locker last year, and is actually nominated in a bunch of categories for supporting actor this year going into the awards season. He has locked down the role. He did say a while ago that he was going to pop up in the movie, but then had to backtrack. So Right now, though, apparently he will be appearing in Thor when that comes out. More of the cross-universe connecting that they're trying to do so they can launch all of their potential franchises. But that's what you get when Mickey Mouse picks up your stuff. You're going to get hoarded out further. Once again, more good messages for the kids. So that's what we've got for the movie shorts for today. Now it's time to jump through the box office numbers. And this is going up to Tuesday, December 28th was the last day that tracked. Normally by now they have the grosses from yesterday and by as well, but it might be something with the holiday or whatever. Little Fockers is of course still on top. Ended up making on Tuesday just under $7.8 million. It's at $61 million total, so I mean it will make back its $100 million budget, especially with another week or so to go with no school and holiday days to bump up the box office numbers. But that's a far cry from the almost $100 million that the previous one made in the same time frame. You look at business across the board, and it's crazy that last year, the weeks of Christmas, you had Avatar pulling in $75 million on like each weekend for 3 weekends in a row. And Little Fockers barely cracked $30 million this past weekend. But sometimes it's just the way that the week flows. That's why you have the year-to-year comparisons, because you can't track one season to the other. Though overall, it looks like the holidays in the summer have been a little bit weaker than previous years. This past year is still just on level with 2009, if only because Avatar came out more towards the beginning of this year. So it made it made a good over $100 million, $200 million in the box office in last December, but then it still made an extra $550 million after that. So definitely helps the numbers for this year. Going onward, number 2, Tron Legacy crossed $100 million on Tuesday. It now has it had $6.3 million for the day. It's just past the $100 million mark. $100 million and 55,000 to be in the exact ballpark. That's very, very good considering no one expected this one to track that well. People thought it was going to be a $30 million opening, which it exceeded. It has a huge budget, but it's doing all right around the world. And at this point, I think it's even, if you compare inflation, because most people will argue, well, maybe it's not as successful as the original, which even bombed back in its day. But I think at this point, it has done it about 2/3 of the audience that the first one did, and it still has a lot of business to go. So it's definitely Disney coming back around and making sure that one of their potential properties that failed years ago just gets recycled and spit out in a more successful version. Number 3, True Grit made over $6 million on Tuesday. It's sitting at just over $49 million total right now. It already made back its budget. It's tracking to be the highest-grossing Western movie since 1992's Unforgiven, which was a little off fact that we gave you the other day, courtesy of this guy right here. And lots of reading. See, you can still read on the internet even if you're not reading books. Number 4 for the day on Tuesday was Yogi Bear, made $4.5 million estimated. Some of the companies do not have the real exact numbers because of the holiday, so they're being lazy, obviously. It's made just shy of $44 million actually at this point. It had a budget of $80 million, but it still has a little bit of holiday playing time. It wasn't as hugely successful as, let's say Alvin and the Chipmunks, like those two that made over $200 million. But it still has a good shot at making back its budget, maybe even crossing the century mark by the end of its run. Number 5, Chronicles of Narnia 3, still hanging in there. Made an extra $3.7 million, sitting just shy of $70 million. That's another one that, it might not be as successful as its predecessors. But at this point, everyone was comparing it to Aragon and The Golden Compass, among similar movies that were kid-aimed that didn't do well around the holidays. This one is going to surpass them both in total gross, maybe not in attendance, but even that might end up changing by the end of the season if it can cross $100 million. Number 6, Tangled, is still hanging in there. It's been out for 5 weeks at this point, and it is still just outside the top 5. That's actually very impressive for movies nowadays when the attention span of the audiences is very short. It just crossed $150 million. It made $3.6 million for the day. it's very amazing that it's still hanging around. It looks like Disney did add to the theater count for it. I know they dropped it down a little bit when Tron came out. I think they might have just put it back into more regular theaters as opposed to 3D, but it's still playing very well. Number 7, we've got Gulliver's Travels, the only movie to open on Christmas Day starring Jack Black. It was a kids' movie, had the 3D illusion going for it, and it still crashed and burned. Made $6.3 million for the weekend. It only had the 2 days, which was very uncharacteristic. But similar movies like Galaxy Quest years ago, when that bombed, that made about the same. Adjusted for inflation, it made more. If you look at Fat Albert even years ago, that made $10 million in its 2 days, which was a little bit disappointing. So Gulliver's Travels is not doing well, only coming in with $6.3 million for the weekend. At this point, it made just under $3 million on Tuesday. It's just shy of the $12 million mark. It'll be lucky if it gets 30 or 40 million, and there might be a big backlash, or blacklash, if you will, after this is out. Number 8, Black Swan, made just shy of $2.5 million. It's sitting pretty at $33 million when it's already made back its budget, and it still has the Oscars to go through. The Oscars, of course, boost a movie through the nominations and awareness if they're still out in theaters. Speaking of which, we got number 9, The Fighter, still in close proximity. Made $2.2 million for the day on Tuesday. Just north right now of $31 million. That one will end up getting a little bit of money back in the long run, if not some award nominations. Just at the bottom of the top 10, The King's Speech, which had been in limited release for the past couple months, or the past month, I should say, and was getting a lot of the early Oscar buzz. Now is in a little bit more wide release, 700 theaters compared to the handful of theaters that held it before. It's making it made just north of 1.5 million on Tuesday, and it is now at just north of $11 million. That one, if it can get the Weinstein Company some awards, the Weinsteins love putting out movies for attention, even if the movies aren't successful, which is why they've had so many problems running the companies in the past. They will still give it a shot. So that's the box office report for the Christmas holiday. Despite the business being down and it not being as huge as it normally is, it's still big numbers. You normally don't see movies crossing more than a couple million on a weekday. So it's very nice to see the high millions coming in for the family movies that have been out for a little while. Because with the short attention span of moviegoers nowadays, movies barely last 2-3 months before they're out on DVD. So that's a lot. There's no movies coming out this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see if everything can hold up at the same rate or even better. That's normally what's expected with the New Year's holiday, with people looking to go out to the movies. We'll have coverage of that coming up, though, as we said. Don't forget to join us tomorrow. We'll see what other goodies we can scrape together for the last update of the year. Who knows? Maybe you'll even see us January 1st while everyone else is taking a day off. Well, we'll have to wait and see till tomorrow on that one. So until we see you guys again tomorrow, I am Tommy Dizzlemits, as always, for the Daily Dizzle. We thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, check out our channel on YouTube or type in Dizzlemits and see what other Daily Dizzles that you might have missed come up, or even check out some of our original video packages that we've done. Some good work on those. So give it a shot, see what you come up with, keep yourself entertained for a while, keep following us. We'll see you tomorrow.